Much, Madam Chair, distinguished guests. Um, I'm so delighted to be part of this afternoon's discussion on this seminar series. Just a small point of correction. We now have a Vice Chancellor at the Methodist University, and so he is Professor Boafo. But today we are looking at a very important issue that has to do with us as a nation. The dilemma of Ghana's 17th IMF program and our natural resources, a pathway to national development. The mention of 17th brings us to stir, to call for not just reflections, but to reform. Since we gained independence, we have gone to IMF 17 times. The first one being after the overthrow of the first president. And it has gone on till the last, which was the recent one, 2023 to 2026, when it will come to an end. While these engagements offer short-term reliefs, they often constrain long-term development ambitions of every nation that would go under the IMF. This recurring reliance raises fundamental questions about our economic sovereignty, fiscal discipline, and the stewardship of our abundant natural resources. I need not belabor the point that our dear nation Ghana is endowed with abundant natural resources. Come to talk about it: gold, oil, forests, water, salt, lithium. Add on to it. And even there are some which we don't even speak or talk about. But with all of these, we seem to be in a resource curse, or what I will also call as the bane. Even with the resources that we have, it has become a bane on us in terms of what we are now experiencing. Instead of these minerals bringing us wealth, development, and making life very easy and simple for us, we are now spending more on this rather than gaining from it. Health-wise, environmental, and the way we have all degraded the environment. And as a faith leader, I'll be speaking on this. I'm so concerned. What do we do? Even though we want to use our natural resources to come out of the challenges we have when it comes to national development and the use of our natural resources. So this brief examines the structural dilemma behind repeated IMF reliance and proposes a strategic framework for leveraging Ghana's natural resources to achieve sustainable national development. It calls for the end of this for institutional reforms, value addition, ethical leadership, and inclusive governance to break the cycle of external dependence. This is not just about economics. As a faith leader, I'll say that it is about responsible and good stewardship of our natural resources, our institutions, and our national destiny. Because I know that what is in the earth, on the earth, and all that there is has come to us from God, and it is for our good, not for our bane. It should not be a curse on us. This resources that we have come to help our economy. And Ghana, in our discussion before this session, we said that everywhere you go and there is gold. We have these natural resources in abundance. And studies have also shown the minerals commercially mined in Ghana will include gold, bauxite, diamond, manganese, oil. However, as I said, minerals like kaolin, salt, limestone, mica, feldspar are either underexplored or non-explored. In my reading, I even found out that in the extraction of gold, we get silver. We don't even talk about it as Ghana having some amount of silver, because we go in for gold, and the byproduct that comes from Boafo, Newmont, and these big companies is silver, which is also yielding quite substantial money to us. And it is found, as I said, along the Ashanti, Brong-Ahafo, Eastern, Western, and even in the north, you find these minerals. And Ghana is known to be the largest gold producer in Africa. When it comes to manganese, Ghana is ranked third in Africa. The mining sector has significantly contributed to many countries' growth, for which Ghana is a part. But what do we see? The sector is dominated by all the minerals that we have mentioned and those that are not, and has historically been major contributor to our economy. And other significant minerals that we know. But there is a curse, or there is the negatives of it. For all that we receive, for all that comes into our national economy to support our GDP and all of that, we still have what I call the dilemma, the paradox of plenty without prosperity. We are richly endowed, yet we remain fiscally fragile. Why do we keep returning to the IMF? And that question needs to be answered. Why do we keep, from 1966, 67, to 2023, 24, up to 2026. And I don't know whether last week the IMF experts were here to take us through the last bit of it and then to send us the money. But thanks to Prof. Okwe, he has given us the bottom line that whatever comes from the IMF are short-lived. They are short-term, and it has never resolved or helped us come out, because we go again and again and again. This series is saying that we should come out of this cycle. And that's why we think IMF has not in any way helped us. In the midst of plenty, we are not prospering. And why? We think that with IMF, the challenges that we go through has been enumerated by the first speaker. But, Madam Chair, allow me to mention 3 of them. It has come as a result of weak governance and mismanagement. Poor oversight and corruption dilute the impact of resources or the revenue that comes from the resources, leading to revenue leakages and corruption. There is no proper planning to harness the potential within the sector. There is no coordination between the bodies associated with the mining industry, and I'll come to mention them. Because the government or parliament has taken time to enact these from 1984 through to 95. We have all these bodies being in place just to make sure that our mining sector works effectively for our good. But there is no coordination, proper coordination. 2, we have not come out of this rich status that we have because we have limited value addition. We export raw things. Take manganese from Insuta right to the port. It is gone. And unfortunately, some galamseyers have gone to destroy the railway line. So now it cannot even go. Unfortunately. So limited value addition, while local beneficiaries and industrialization is lacking. Then the 3rd one, Madam Chair, is the environmental degradation that has also come along with our mineral resources. Very, very sad. Unsustainable extraction undermines long-term ecological and economic health. So despite the projected benefits of the natural resources, Ghana's mining communities are among the country's poorest. And studies have shown that. And last week we mentioned it. We used the Obuasi-Joburg example. The mining enterprises of both large and small-scale operations have had a detrimental effect on the livelihoods of locals in affected communities where mining is done in large scale. So you mentioned Obuasi, Prisia, Dunkornofing, Takwa, all these places look at the life there. Look at the situation in which, unfortunately, in the process, the economic importance of mining is increasingly being overlooked. Ghana is yet to successfully transform its natural wealth into broad-based economic development. This has created forms of tension in the communities, and this lack of success can be attributed to the absence of integration between mining and other growth-promoting industries and communities. The recent one we had was from Mpatuam, where people saying, the youth saying that no, we also must get a share of what is happening, what is being taken away, what contract was signed, what agreement was put forth. And without any time to waste, they also went in, and before long, they had to clash with the security personnel. So IMF program, is it a necessary invention or a symptom of deep malice? Ghana's current 3 million extended credit facility, ECF, program aims to restore microeconomic stability and ensure fiscal sustainability, while the IMF provides short-term relief and policy guidance. The long-term implications are there. And Prof has mentioned some of them. I'll mention three. Loss of policy autonomy. Loss of policy autonomy. IMF conditionalities often constrain domestic priorities. I don't know whether this was from the IMF conditionalities, but at a point in time, when we had to go to NACA to see the books that were being written for our basic schools, the things that had been included in it, you ask and they will tell you these are conditionalities coming from those who lend us the money. The things that were foreign, things that were non-Ghanaian, were included in the syllabus for our children to learn. That is what I mean by loss of policy autonomy. Public disillusionment. Repeated bailouts erode trust in national leadership and institutions. Then the third one is stunted growth. Without proper reforms, Ghana risks stagnating at 3.8% GDP growth, delaying its upper middle income aspirations. I thought that in 2008, 2009, we heard from President Kwabena that we were middle income and we're getting out of that. We should have been out long time ago, but where are we? Going back to IMF. Madam Chair, what is our pathway? Just to make some suggestions. A pathway to national development, strategic resource stewardship. To break the cycle of IMF dependence and unlock sustainable development, Ghana must reimagine its natural resources governance. This brief proposes a pathway to national development that reduces IMF dependence by transforming how we manage our natural resources. Our goals: economic sovereignty, ethical governance, inclusive growth, and youth empowerment. just to highlight. First, institutional reform and transparency. Institutional reform and transparency. We must enforce public disclosure of contracts and revenues from our natural resources, that which we extract. And we must enforce accountability in resource contracts, agreements, and revenue flows. Sometimes we hear PIAC going around to look at what is coming from the oil fields, and they tell you this is that and all, and the shortfalls that come in. At the end of the day, how many of us even know how much was accruing from what has been taken? All these must be made aware to the general public, because the government, the president, is holding it in trust for the people of Ghana, and so we must know. We have to also digitize and decentralize monitoring systems to reduce leakages and empower independent institutions. Digitization is so crucial now in our times, because that is the only way by which we can monitor. You go to other places and even tolls, you don't need to go and give it to somebody sitting in the toll booth to change and then to give you change and all of that. You don't need such. Technology is something that we have to apply or employ to come out of this situation we find ourselves. Effective governance is critical for sector transformation, and key institutions, that is Minerals Commission, Environmental Protection Agency, and the National Development Planning Commission, they must all be involved and come together to coordinate their affairs so that we avoid duplications. Because moving from one end to the other, that is where the corruption sets in. Because in some places, you have to put weight on your document, else it will not move. There is a need for stronger interministerial coordination among lands, energy, finance, and education ministries. We must also strengthen our anti-corruption agencies or bodies so that accountability is brought to the mineral sector. 2, value addition and industrialization. Madam Chair, Ghana cannot continue to be exporting raw materials and importing poverty. Let's invest and build our own refineries, processing plants, and support local industries to grow. And if we do this, we have to also invest in the training of skilled human resource. Skilled. I was teaching at KNUST when petroleum engineering was introduced. And come and see the number of students who came around wanting to do petroleum engineering because they heard Ghana has discovered oil. For all these years, where are they? Where are they? This is time for us to train them, give them all the skills that they need so that they can man the refineries and the plants and everything. They can do the exploration, they can do the analysis for us. So that is the only way by which we can add value to our minerals and get the resources that we need. Then I come to community participation and equity. Community empowerment is very, very crucial in this exercise. Legalizing development agreement and environmental bonds. Resource extraction, we know, disrupt local communities without delivering commensurate benefits. And so to address this, and in looking at this critically, we should mandate community development agreement. This should be part of the agreement that is signed with the investor and whoever is coming in. Legally binding contracts between companies and communities covering infrastructure, education, healthcare, other social amenities, and even the people themselves must be trained so that they would benefit. Ensure host communities benefit through the monies that accrue or that we own. If the government has a percentage, part of that percentage should be used for the community and the people who live in the catchment area of the mining sector. Introduce environmental reclamation bonds. And as I said, as a faith leader, I'm always concerned about the environment, the destruction, the degradation that we have made. This bond, as it is incorporated into the agreement, will make sure that financial guarantees that ensure post-extraction, restoration, and ecological protection so that we can come back to use the land. Faith-based leadership and moral stewardship. Madam Chair, I'm winding up. As a faith-based leader, I believe spiritual values must inform our economic decisions. Stewardship, justice, accountability, integrity are not merely theological ideas. They are strategic pillars of national transformation and development. Proverbs 14:34 says, righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a reproach to any people. And so, if sin, corruption, greed will come into the sector, then we're going to remain where we are. But we don't want to remain there. And that is where we think that equity, distribution of the resources must be to all. Everyone in Ghana must also benefit. Ethical considerations demand justice and equity in distributing mineral wealth, ensuring that benefits reach all segments of society. The youth must be empowered, and they must have their say in whatever we intend doing. We have institutional coordination, and then let me end. My conclusion is that from 17, we don't have to go again. So it is from bailouts to breakthroughs. As a man of faith, let me bring breakthroughs here. Breakthroughs. Ghana's 17th IMF program must be a turning point and not a continuation of dependency. By stewarding its natural resources with integrity, innovation, and inclusivity, Ghana can chart a new path towards economic sovereignty and sustainable development, and IMF bailouts will be a measure of the past. Faith communities ask for such that we together with integrity and with God on our side. And whatever he has given us, we will stand. The time is here and now. Madam Chair, thank you.